What if I told you that the most successful people in history never meditated, never used productivity apps, and never followed a single focus hack from modern self-help? Here is a disturbing truth that will shatter everything you believe about concentration. While you, optimizing your morning routine and downloading the latest focus app, there is a 500-year-old political genius who understood something about mental control that would make today's productivity gurus weep with envy. Niccolò Machiavelli never wrote about focus the way we do today. He wrote about power, manipulation, and domination, and yet, hidden in his brutal political strategies lies the most dangerous approach to concentration ever conceived. An approach so effective, so ruthless, that it transforms ordinary minds into weapons of mass achievement. You see, everyone thinks focus is about peace, balance, and finding your zen. They believe it's about breathing exercises and mindfulness apps. But that's exactly why 99% of people fail miserably at maintaining real concentration. They treat focus like meditation when they should treat it like warfare. They seek harmony when they should seek dominance. They want to improve their attention span when they should be weaponizing their mental energy to crush their competition. The uncomfortable reality that nobody wants to admit? Your scattered mind isn't a personal failing, it is a strategic weakness that your competitors are exploiting right now. In a world designed to fragment your attention and keep you distracted, the person who masters true Machiavellian focus doesn't just succeed. They dominate entire industries, they control narratives, they bend reality to their will. Think about it. While everyone else is checking their phones every 3 minutes, scrolling through infinite feeds, reacting to every notification like trained animals, what if you could maintain laser focus for hours? What if your mind was so disciplined, so sharp, so unbreakable that obstacles simply melted before your concentrated will? This isn't about becoming more productive. This is about becoming more powerful. This is about mental warfare in its purest form. So throw away everything you think you know about concentration. Forget the meditation apps, the productivity hacks, the time management systems. We're not here to find inner peace. We're here to forge mental steel that cuts through any opposition. Part 1. The Foundation of Mental Warfare. 8 minutes. The dark truth about modern focus. Niccolò never penned a productivity manual. He never spoke of focus timers, dopamine fasts, or Pomodoro techniques. No morning routine lists cluttered his desk. Yet he grasped something far more sinister, far more potent than any modern guru has ever conceived. True focus power doesn't lie in getting things done efficiently, it lies in control, in influence, in psychological manipulation, in cutting through a chaotic world that demands your attention be everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Focus isn't a practice you do for 25 minutes at a time. It's a blade that you sharpen until it can slice through steel. And when you learn to wield it as Niccolò did, you cease reacting to the world and begin commanding it. You stop pursuing opportunities and start magnetizing them. You stop attempting to transform your life through effort and simply execute through pure will. Because here is what the master understood. That modern society has forgotten. The ordinary person doesn't lack talent, intelligence, or capability. They lack direction. Their intellect isn't deficient, it's dispersed across 1,000 meaningless tasks. Their strength isn't absent, it's hemorrhaging through 1,000,000 tiny leaks in their attention. The cardinal rule of all dominance, whether political, financial, or personal. What scatters is powerless. What consolidates becomes invincible. A scattered army loses to a focused battalion. A scattered mind loses to a concentrated will. A scattered life creates scattered results. So, the question transforms from how do I focus better to something far more dangerous. How do I forge focus into a weapon of mass achievement? The first law, eliminate without compassion. Focus starts with removal, not addition. This is where 99% of people get it catastrophically wrong. Most attempt concentration by piling on more applications to track their habits. More systems to organize their tasks, more objectives to pursue simultaneously, more frameworks to follow. But Niccolò understood that focus doesn't begin with accumulation, it begins with annihilation. It begins with the brutal elimination of everything that doesn't serve your ultimate purpose. He counseled leaders with these words: "The clever ruler must mirror both the fox and the lion. The fox sidesteps snares with cunning. The lion destroys enemies with force for you." Living in this attention deficit world, the snare is distraction in all its seductive forms. The enemy is endless, choice, infinite options, and the paralysis that comes from trying to do everything. Your mind isn't chaotic from weakness, it's chaotic from excess. You've made yourself accessible to everything while committing fully to nothing. You've opened so many doors that you can't walk through any of them with power. Here is the Machiavellian approach that will immediately transform your mental landscape, destroy 90% of the goals you believe you should be pursuing. I'm not talking about gentle pruning, I'm talking about brutal elimination. If it doesn't serve your primary mission, it dies. Reject people who drain your time through emotional manipulation, rather than providing genuine value. These energy vampires disguise their parasitism as friendship, as family obligation, as social responsibility. But Niccolò would see through their facade immediately. They are saboteurs of your focus, and they must be cut. Stop attempting mastery of everything. The Renaissance idea of the polymath is dead in our hyper-specialized world. Instead, dominate one domain so completely, so ruthlessly, that others orbit around your expertise like planets around the sun. When you accept too many priorities, your mental force becomes watered down. And diluted force isn't power, it's just sophisticated procrastination disguised as busyness. Niccolò's principle that will revolutionize your entire approach. What you reject shapes you more than what you embrace. Your power lies not in what you add to your life, but in what you have the strength to remove. The second law: select one arena and eliminate all exits. The prince believed in choosing battles wisely, never engaging in conflict, unless prepared to annihilate the opposition completely and claim total victory. This same law must govern your focus with mathematical precision. If you desire real transformation, genuine breakthrough results, you cannot experiment casually. You cannot dabble. You cannot hedge your bets. You must declare total war on mediocrity. Choose one territory in your existence where you'll apply unreasonable, almost obsessive focus. Perhaps it's mastering your profession to the point where you become irreplaceable. Maybe it's forging a physical body that commands respect and fear, or constructing an enterprise that liberates you financially forever. Once decided, you torch the bridges behind you, with the fury of Cortez burning his ships. No safety net to catch you if you fall. No backup. Strategy that allows mental weakness. Pure psychological warfare against your own mediocrity and the world's expectations. This isn't about work-life balance, that's a luxury for the weak. This is about absolute dominance in your chosen domain. When Alexander conquered Asia, he didn't maintain perfect balance. When Caesar crossed the Rubicon, he didn't have a backup plan. When Machiavelli wrote The Prince, he didn't diversify his efforts. Contemporary minds might label this concept deep work or flow state, but Niccolò would call it territorial occupation of consciousness. You claim that mental space so completely, so relentlessly, so violently that your competition either submits to your superior focus or retreats in defeat. The focused mind is like water cutting through rock. It doesn't fight the obstacle. It simply persists with such concentrated force that the obstacle eventually yields or breaks. The third law: become unreachable. Visibility destroys mastery. Accessibility murders achievement. There's one behavior that kills more ambition than outright failure ever could: constant availability, always responding to messages within minutes, perpetually answering calls that interrupt your deep work, eternally online and forever accessible to every digital distraction. Niccolò advised princes to remain enigmatic, unpredictable, and strategically silent. Why? Because silence breeds fear in your enemies, and fear generates power over your circumstances. But there's another reason that applies directly to your focus. When you're always reachable, your mental energy is always fragmented across multiple demands. A fragmented mind cannot construct a legacy that lasts centuries. A distracted person cannot become dangerous enough to change the world. An available person cannot build anything that requires sustained, violent concentration. Here is your protocol for becoming unreachable. Eliminate 90% of notifications that fragment your attention throughout the day. Execute your most important deep work while others are mindlessly scrolling through endless feeds of other people's achievements. Disappear completely from the world for 3 to 4 hours daily from noise, from chaos, from demands, from the addiction of constant connection. You don't owe the world your availability. You don't owe society your immediate response. You don't owe anyone access to your mental energy. You owe yourself advancement, progress, and the construction of something magnificent. Let the world experience your absence so they begin to hunger for your presence. Let them wonder what you're building in the shadows while they're broadcasting their every mundane thought. Part 2, Advanced Psychological Tactics, 10 minutes, the fourth law. Create artificial pressure. Power expands and solidifies under heat. Diamonds form under pressure. Steel is forged in fire. Niccolò wrote that necessity drives men to extraordinary action, while luxury weakens their resolve and comfort slowly kills their ambition. History's most focused individuals didn't discover motivation lying around. They manufactured pressure with the precision of a master craftsman. They created situations where focus wasn't optional, it was survival. How do you engineer this kind of pressure in your own life? First, establish impossible deadlines that force you to operate at peak mental capacity. Then systematically remove every safety net that might catch you if you fail. Tell people publicly what you're going to accomplish and by when, so your reputation becomes collateral in your own success. Wager something that matters to you: money, status, ego, respect. You'll focus with laser intensity when there's something meaningful at stake, when failure carries real consequences that you can't ignore or rationalize away. Because Niccolò knew that fear sharpens the mind like nothing else can. Just as fire refines gold by burning away impurities, pressure refines attention by eliminating everything that doesn't serve your ultimate objective. Stop waiting for the perfect mental state to begin focusing. Stop hoping for ideal conditions to start building. Instead, create the storm that forces obsession, manufacture the crisis that demands excellence. The fifth law: pursue control, not balance. Society worships balance, a weak, pathetic concept used to justify half-hearted existence and mediocre results. Modern culture tells you to balance work and play, effort and rest, ambition and contentment. But Niccolò would spit on this philosophy of moderation. He championed control instead, the raw capacity to command your mind like a weapon, to bend external reality through internal will, to shape circumstances rather than merely react to them. When you wake each morning, don't ask yourself, what's the balanced approach I should take today? That question breeds mediocrity. Instead, ask, what action will grant me maximum control over my results, my environment, my future? That might require sacrificing social time that others consider essential. It might mean working through physical and mental exhaustion when others would rest. It might mean training your body and mind as if your very existence depends on their performance, because it does. Your future self depends entirely on what your present self is willing to sacrifice. Balance serves the comfortable, the satisfied, the mediocre. Control serves the powerful, the ambitious, the dangerous. The balanced life produces balanced results, which is to say, forgettable ones. The controlled life produces extraordinary results that reshape entire industries and leave legacies that last centuries. The sixth law: focus as violence against distraction. You must fundamentally reconceptualize focus as something violent, aggressive, and uncompromising. It's not a peaceful, gentle practice that you approach with soft intentions and kind thoughts. It's a brutal declaration of war against your lesser self, your weak self, your distracted self. It is saying absolutely not to every impulse that whispers seductively in your ear. Check your device just for a second. Open that application to see what's happening. Scroll briefly through social media. You deserve a little break. Niccolò advised rulers to be ruthless only when necessary, but when they chose ruthlessness, to execute it decisively and completely, without hesitation or mercy. The same principle applies to your relationship with distraction. You don't negotiate with distraction. You don't try to manage it gently. You don't attempt to find some reasonable middle ground. You execute it completely, coldly, relentlessly, without apology or second guessing. Delete the application that steals your attention. Block the websites that fragment your focus. Cut ties with people who consistently interrupt your deep work. Remove every excuse that allows your mind to escape from the task at hand. You won't outthink distraction through clever strategies. It's too cunning, too persistent, too well designed by teams of behavioral psychologists. You must overpower it through sheer force of will, through systems that make distraction physically impossible. The seventh law: structure your day like a sovereign. Most people wake up like tourists in their own life, drifting from experience to experience, hoping something good will happen, reacting to whatever circumstances present themselves. Niccolò would call this a pathetic, powerless way to exist. Instead, organize your day like a sovereign structures a kingdom, ruthlessly, strategically, with every element serving the greater mission. Every hour must bow to your will and serve your ultimate objectives. Every task must advance your mission or be eliminated entirely. Every minute must be accounted for and utilized with precision. This doesn't mean creating joyless, robotic routines that drain your humanity. It means sovereignty, taking complete ownership and control over how your limited time gets invested. The powerful don't request time from the universe, they command it through superior organization and unshakable priorities. Plan your day the night before with military precision. Know exactly what you'll accomplish and in what order. Build buffers for the unexpected, but never allow your day to become a series of reactions to other people's urgent demands. Time is the only resource you can never earn back, never steal from others, never create more of. Treat it with the respect it deserves, or watch mediocrity slowly strangle your dreams. Part 3. Building the internal fortress. 8 minutes. Guard your attention like state intelligence. Niccolò warned rulers with prophetic insight. The most dangerous threats originate within your own borders, not from external enemies. Betrayal, weakness, disloyalty, sabotage, they always start inside the walls of your own kingdom. Apply this wisdom to the kingdom of your own mind. Your focus problems don't primarily come from external distractions, they come from internal ones. From the parts of your psyche that are lazy and seek the path of least resistance. From the aspects of your personality that are anxious and crave constant stimulation. From the impulses that are addicted to validation, novelty, and escape. You must govern your inner realm like a tyrant governs a potentially rebellious population. Identify the voices in your head that whisper doubt, encourage procrastination, and justify mediocrity. These are internal saboteurs, and they must be crushed without mercy. When your mind begins to wander from the task at hand, punish the wandering immediately. Don't negotiate with it. Don't try to understand its deeper psychological motivations, simply force it back to the objective. With iron discipline, every time you successfully resist a distraction, reward the resistance. Train your mind like you would train a loyal guard dog, with consistency, firmness, and clear consequences for both obedience and rebellion. Your attention is your crown jewel, your most valuable possession in this attention economy world. If you drop it for even a moment, if you let your guard down for even a second, someone else will claim it and use it to build their empire instead of yours. Focus on leverage points only. Not everything in your life deserves the gift of your focused attention. Not every task is worth mastering. Not every opportunity deserves pursuit. Niccolò didn't believe in doing everything with equal intensity. He believed in identifying and dominating what mattered most for long-term power accumulation. In any complex system, whether political, economic, or personal, 90% of meaningful results come from 10% of focused actions. This is the mathematical reality that most people ignore to their own detriment. Your focus must be selective and strategic rather than scattered and democratic. In your current life situation, what is the single leverage point that, if dominated completely, would transform everything else? If you're building a business, is the leverage point content creation or direct outreach to potential clients? If you're developing your physical body, is it sleep optimization or workout intensity? If you're trying to gain respect and influence, is it your presence and charisma or your persuasion and negotiation skills? One focused strike at the right leverage point outweighs 100 random punches at secondary targets. A sniper with one perfect shot defeats a machine gun spraying bullets everywhere. Kingdoms throughout history have been conquered through surgical precision, not through scattered effort. Stop trying to do more things. Instead, find the keystone habit, the critical action, the central relationship that controls everything else and dominate it so completely that your competitors can't even compete. Train the mind like a master spy. Observe every mental movement with cold precision. The greatest rulers in history weren't just politically violent, they were strategically brilliant. They didn't act randomly based on emotion. They watched, waited, analyzed patterns, and struck with surgical precision when the timing was perfect. Your relationship with your own mind must follow this same intelligence-gathering approach. If you cannot observe your own mental patterns objectively, your mind will forever control you instead of serving you. Start developing tactical awareness. When does your attention naturally collapse? And what specific triggers cause it? What times of day are you mentally sharp and focused versus scattered and reactive? What environmental factors drain your mental energy instantly? What patterns and routines consistently lead to your strongest, most productive hours of deep focus? This isn't New Age self-awareness designed to make you feel good about yourself. This is tactical surveillance with a specific military objective. Spy on yourself like you're planning a psychological takeover, because that's exactly what you're doing. Once you can watch your own mind without emotional attachment, once you can observe your mental patterns like a scientist studying data, you can redirect your attention without internal resistance. You become the master of your own consciousness rather than its victim. Create a ritual of mental combat. Enter every focus session like a warrior entering battle. Every time you sit down to do important work, you're entering psychological combat not with external enemies, but with your own lesser self, your distracted self, your weak self that wants to take shortcuts and avoid difficult tasks. Niccolò believed that rituals mattered tremendously in preparing for any form of warfare, not because they contained mystical power, but because they prepared the human psyche for violence, for intensity, for the kind of mental clarity that cuts through all obstacles. Create your own ritual of mental combat. Design something specific that signals to your subconscious mind, now we build something magnificent. Now we become dangerous. Now we focus with the intensity of a laser cutting through steel. It could be sitting in the exact same chair with identical lighting conditions every time, playing a specific soundtrack that triggers psychological intensity and eliminates ambient distractions, opening a blank document and writing one sharp, clear sentence that crystallizes your objective before diving into the work. This is how warriors throughout history have sharpened their swords before battle. You don't casually warm up and hope for the best, you systematically prepare for war against mediocrity. Assume the mask of focused power become what you consistently perform. Niccolò was obsessed with appearances and perception, not because he cared about superficial morality, but because he understood human psychology at a level that few ever reach. If others consistently perceive you as focused, driven, and coldly determined to achieve your objectives, you will begin to internalize that identity and actually become that person. External perception shapes internal reality more than most people realize. So, perform focus with deliberate precision, even when you don't feel it internally. Dress like someone who has a clear mission and important work to accomplish. Speak less and listen more, because focused people don't waste energy on unnecessary communication. Move through the world like your time is expensive and your attention is precious. Carry a notebook or a detailed plan wherever you go, not for show, but to remind yourself constantly, I am not here to wander aimlessly through life. I am not here to react to whatever happens. I am here to win, to build, to achieve something that matters. Initially, this may feel like acting or putting on a performance. Good, let it feel that way, because Niccolò knew that power comes first from perception, both others' perception of you and your own perception of yourself. What you perform consistently and with conviction eventually becomes your actual reality. Part 4. Weaponizing Solitude and Hierarchy. 7 minutes. Use solitude as a weapon of mass construction. Isolation creates insight. Solitude breeds genius. Niccolò wrote his greatest works, the texts that shaped political theory for centuries, not while surrounded by court distractions and social obligations, but in exile. After being betrayed, tortured, and banished from Florence, he retreated to his rural estate and began writing The Prince, a book that fundamentally altered how power operates in the world. Why did his greatest work emerge from isolation rather than collaboration? Because in true solitude, away from the opinions and expectations of others, the mind sharpens like a blade being forged. The noise of social interaction fades. The truth of what needs to be built emerges with crystal clarity. Modern society has trained you to fear isolation, to see it as punishment rather than opportunity. But instead of fearing solitude, you must engineer it strategically. Block out entire days where you vanish completely from social media, from communication, from the opinions and needs of others. Go where no one expects to find you. Cut all external validation and sit with the silence until it becomes comfortable, then productive, then powerful. At first, your mind will scream for stimulation. It will itch desperately for connection, for distraction, for anything to avoid confronting the depth of your own thoughts. That mental screaming is good. It means the detox from constant stimulation has begun. Once it's over, once you've purged your system of the need for external validation, you'll see the world like a strategist rather than a slave to social pressure. Install a hierarchy of values. Not everything in your life is equal. Not every thought deserves the same attention. Not every opportunity merits the same consideration. Niccolò didn't believe in democratic equality when it came to power. He believed in clear orders, distinct ranks, and rigid hierarchies that eliminated confusion and maximized effectiveness. You must install this same hierarchical thinking into your daily decision-making process. Your mind currently treats all inputs as roughly equal, which is why you feel overwhelmed and scattered. Create a strict hierarchy of what deserves your mental energy. Mission-critical tasks. These get done daily, no matter what circumstances arise, no matter how you feel, no matter what else is demanding your attention. These are the leverage points that build your empire. Maintenance tasks, these support your mission indirectly, but are still necessary for long-term sustainability. They get attention only after mission-critical tasks are completed. Nice-to-have activities, these are optional and only receive minimal energy during periods when everything else is handled perfectly. Forbidden activities, anything that pulls you away from becoming who you must become, gets eliminated entirely, regardless of social pressure or temporary pleasure. Every time you obey this hierarchy, your focus muscle strengthens. Every time you blur the lines and treat urgent as equivalent to important, your mental discipline weakens. Power belongs to the person who knows exactly what deserves their energy and has the strength to burn everything else without guilt or second-guessing. Collapse time through surgical intensity. Do in 3 hours what ordinary people do in 3 days. Niccolò wasn't just efficient in the traditional sense, he was surgically intense. When he decided to act, he did so with complete commitment and zero hesitation. He understood that time isn't measured in minutes on a clock, but in the quality of decisions made and the speed of execution. If you want to master focus and achieve results that seem impossible to others, stop trying to extend your focus sessions longer. Instead, focus with greater intensity and precision. Work in explosive sprints rather than marathon slogs. Attack each task like a predator stalking prey, not like a peasant hoping for favorable conditions. Ask yourself this question every morning: if I only had 1 hour today to make massive progress toward my most important goal, what would I do? Then structure your entire day around doing exactly that, regardless of how much time you actually have available. This is how you begin to bend time itself. Because focus isn't just about sustained attention, it's about making decisions with absolute speed, clarity, and power. When you eliminate hesitation, when you cut through analysis paralysis, when you act with the decisiveness of a master strategist, you accomplish more in single focused hours than most people accomplish in entire scattered weeks. Part 5. Advanced Psychological Warfare. 10 minutes. The psychology of focus under fire. There's a reason why most people lose their focus precisely when it matters most. It is not because they lack intelligence or capability, it is because they never train their attention under adverse conditions. Focus is relatively easy when you're alone in a quiet room, when your phone is turned off, when life is calm and predictable. But that's not the real battlefield where success and failure are determined. That's just basic training. The real test of your mental discipline comes when everything starts burning around you, when people are panicking and demanding your immediate attention, when deadlines are exploding and the pressure is crushing, when insults are flying and doubt is creeping into your mind like poison, when chaos reigns and everyone else is losing their minds. In those moments, if you can still move like a machine, cold, precise, ruthless, unaffected by the emotional chaos surrounding you, then you possess true power. Niccolò didn't admire leaders who remained calm in peaceful times. He admired the unbreakable strategists who could maintain perfect focus in the middle of chaos, who could manipulate situations from the shadows while others were still reacting emotionally, who could strike with surgical precision when everyone else was paralyzed by uncertainty. Train emotional immunity like a political surgeon when Niccolò advised Renaissance leaders. He didn't just teach them logical strategy, he taught them emotional suppression when necessary. Not to become sociopathically dead inside, but to maintain rational control when everyone around them was cracking under pressure. Focus dies the instant your emotions grab the steering wheel of your mind. Here is what destroys most people's concentration faster than any external distraction: a slight insult that triggers their ego, a disappointing number on a screen that creates self-doubt. And what did they mean by that? Text message that spirals into overthinking. A small failure that somehow becomes an identity crisis. These are emotional grenades designed to detonate your attention. If you don't learn to disarm them with cold precision, they will destroy your ability to think clearly and act strategically. Train yourself like a political surgeon operating under pressure. When you feel emotionally triggered by something, force yourself to delay any reaction for exactly 10 seconds. During those 10 seconds, label the emotion out loud with clinical detachment. That's envy talking. That's doubt trying to sabotage me. That's guilt attempting to manipulate my decisions. Then dismiss these emotions like a king, dismissing irrelevant peasants from his court because your mission, your objectives, your long-term strategic goals are royalty, and temporary emotions are just noise. Let others drown in their feelings and make decisions based on emotional impulses. You rise above the chaos through calculated stillness and strategic thinking. Use attention as currency in a finite economy. Niccolò understood something about perception and power that most people miss completely. Accessibility is often mistaken for weakness, while scarcity creates value and demand. The prince who makes himself too available to every request, who responds immediately to every message, who shows up to every meeting and social gathering, is perceived as weak, desperate, and ultimately powerless. The prince who appears rarely but powerfully, who chooses his appearances strategically, who speaks little but with tremendous impact. The prince commands loyalty, respect, and genuine influence. Your attention operates according to the same psychological principles. Every time you give your mental energy to pointless drama, meaningless conversations, or digital slot machines designed to harvest your focus, you lose leverage in the attention economy. Instead, treat your focus like rare capital that requires strategic investment. Invest your attention only in conversations that build your capabilities or expand your network. Spend your mental energy only on plans and projects that scale exponentially. Put your focus only where the returns are so massive that they justify the opportunity cost. This is how you stop being busy while accomplishing nothing and start becoming legendary while working less. You don't manage time like everyone else, you allocate attention like a king, distributing precious resources only where they'll generate maximum return. Weaponize focus as a display of social power. Focus isn't just a personal advantage that helps you get things done, it is a social weapon that can be used to establish dominance, create mystery, and build influence over others. Watch what happens in social situations when you maintain steady eye contact, while everyone else is glancing nervously at their phones. When you stay completely silent and listen deeply while others are compulsively oversharing. when you're clearly working on something important while they're gossiping about meaningless drama. People start to whisper about you, "He's different from the rest of us. He must be working on something big and important. I don't know exactly what he's building, but I want to be part of it when it launches." This is the psychology of focus as social proof. Your restraint becomes evidence of your power. Your discipline becomes mysterious and attractive. Your ability to resist immediate gratification signals that you're playing a much bigger, longer-term game than everyone else. Use your superior focus as proof of your superiority in general. Let people project greatness and hidden knowledge onto your silence. Let them chase your clarity and want to understand your methods. While they race still drowning in digital noise and scattered attention, detox from weak associations and energy vampires. You can develop incredible personal focus, sharp mental discipline, and unshakable commitment to your goals, but if you spend too much time around unfocused, undisciplined, uncommitted people, you will inevitably become more like them. Niccolò warned political leaders that poor advisors, weak allies, and uncommitted supporters would eventually ruin even the greatest rulers. The same principle applies to your personal circle of influence and the people you allow access. To your mental energy, you don't need yes men who agree with everything you say. You don't need dopamine junkies who are addicted to constant stimulation and entertainment. You definitely don't need people who mock your focus, criticize your intensity, or try to drag you back down to their level of mediocrity. What you need are allies who live like mental assassins, sharp, disciplined, focused on long-term objectives. Friends who sharpen your thinking through challenging conversations rather than dulling it through mindless entertainment. Mentors and peers who see your mission clearly and actively help you accomplish it rather than diluting your energy with their own drama and problems. Cut the energy leeches from your life, even if they're family members, especially if they're charming, and make their parasitism seem reasonable. Anyone who consistently breaks your focus rhythm, who interrupts your deep work, who demands your attention for their emotional needs, that person is not your ally. They're a silent saboteur working against your success. Create public commitment. That traps you into excellence. Niccolò would have loved this psychological trap because it leverages ego, reputation, and social pressure to force consistent performance. The strategy is simple but ruthlessly effective. Trap yourself into maintaining discipline by making your commitment public and irreversible. Declare your mission publicly where people can see it and judge your progress. Tell your network that you're building something massive and important. Set specific deadlines with measurable outcomes. Let others form expectations about what you're going to deliver and when. Why does this work so powerfully? Because now your reputation is collateral in your own success. Now your ego has to deliver results or face public humiliation. Now focus and discipline aren't optional lifestyle choices, they're survival mechanisms for your social standing. This is how powerful people stay locked into high performance even when motivation disappears. They raise the stakes until failure becomes too embarrassing and socially costly to tolerate. They leverage their pride, weaponize external expectations, and burn all the escape routes that might tempt them back to mediocrity. Once you've made your commitment public, you won't need motivation, inspiration, or perfect conditions. You'll have something much more reliable: the fear of public failure and a drive to protect your reputation. Part 6. The System of Silent Construction. 8 minutes. Build a system of strategic silence. Operate without unnecessary noise. But noise isn't just sound, it's constant updates about your progress, endless commentary on your methods, detailed explanations of your strategy, and a compulsive need to justify your choices to people who will never understand your mission. Niccolò operated primarily in strategic silence. His greatest influence came not from what he said publicly, but from what he deliberately didn't say. His power grew in the shadows while others were performing their importance in the light. You must build the same fortress of productive silence around your most important work. Don't explain your focus methods to people who don't have focus. Don't justify your intense work schedule to people who are satisfied with mediocrity. Don't report your daily progress to people who aren't building anything themselves. Just execute relentlessly while keeping your mouth shut about the details. Let your results speak while your commentary stays silent. A silent person building something magnificent and terrifying in the shadows is infinitely more powerful and intriguing than a loud person making promises and predictions in public. The world is full of people talking about what they're going to do. Be the rare person who simply does it without announcement or explanation. Make failure part of your systematic approach. Expect periodic collapse, then rebuild anyway with mechanical precision. Niccolò knew failure intimately: political exile, physical torture, professional rejection, social humiliation. But he didn't break under these pressures because he treated setbacks as temporary chapters in a longer story, not as permanent conclusions to his ambitions. You will lose focus sometimes. You will waste entire days on meaningless activities. You will spiral into distraction and doubt periodically. This isn't a character flaw or a sign that you may not cut out for success. It is a predictable part of any system that operates under pressure. But here is the rule that separates temporary setbacks from permanent failure. Never miss twice in a row. One unfocused hour, shake it off and refocus immediately. One distracted day, recalibrate your systems and get back to work the next morning. Don't waste energy mourning your temporary failures. Don't spend time explaining what went wrong to yourself or others. Don't get trapped in analysis paralysis trying to prevent every possible future mistake. Just return to your fortress of focus and continue building with the same intensity as before.